when he discovers that his older brother has been captured by two music stars. A little troll and his friends set off on a long journey to rescue him. Today we're going to recap the story of the Trolls movie trilogy. In a small grove in the middle of the forest lived the happiest little creatures in the world, known as trolls. However, one day they were discovered by the Bergens, bitter and cruel monsters who devoured the trolls to steal their happiness. From that day on, once a year, the Bergens would surround the tree where the trolls lived and devour them to experience a brief moment of joy. Over time, this day came to be called Trollstitio and became the most dreaded holiday of the year for the little creatures. This year, Prince Gristle Jr. will devour his first troll and is very excited to savor this moment of happiness. However, it isn't long before the Bergens discover that King Pepe and his subjects have escaped through an underground passage. Immediately, the monsters start digging to look for them and, seeing his friends in danger, Pepe returns to rescue them. With the king's help, all the trolls manage to get out of the city safely, but Pepe ends up staying behind and, just when everyone thinks the king has perished, he shows up with Princess Poppy. Furious at what has happened, King Gristle expels the chef from Bergen town, blaming her for letting the trolls escape. After a few days on the road, the little ones find a new home where they can live happily away from their predators. 20 years later, Princess Poppy has become a young adult and follows her father's example, serving her people with great dedication. As the Troll Kingdom has been at peace for many years, no one is worried about the possible arrival of the Bergens, except Branch, who is always waiting for the next attack. That night, Poppy and her friends throw a big party and the light show can be seen several kilometers away in the woods. When the little ones start letting off their fireworks, the chef, who has spent the last few decades of her life looking for the fugitives, manages to find them. That night, the celebration is interrupted by the arrival of the old lady and Poppy sees several of her friends being captured. During the attack, most of the trolls manage to hide, including the princess and her father, but many of them are taken to the city of the Bergens. When the monster leaves, King Pepe decides to take his people away before other Bergens show up to capture them, but Poppy decides to go after her friends. Knowing that she won't be able to complete this mission alone, the young woman goes to Branch's hideout and asks for his help in rescuing the members of her tribe who have been taken. Branch immediately refuses the invitation because he tried to warn the princess about the party, but she decided to ignore him. Over the last few years, Branch has been busy building a bunker where he could hide in case the Bergens found them and, now that his prediction has come true, he has no intention of leaving. However, his plans change when Poppy takes all the trolls to Branch's shelter and says they will stay there until she can rescue her friends. In the morning, Poppy sets off on her journey to the city of the Bergens and, on the way, ends up being captured by the spiders that live in the forest. However, when the princess was about to be devoured, Branch appeared to save her and attacked the spiders with his hair. Frightened, the creatures retreat and end up being devoured by a forest monster. Branch then wakes up his friend and reveals that he will help Poppy save the trolls. In the morning, the pair find the tunnels that lead to the city and enlist the help of a talking cloud to reach the ancient troll tree. Observing how the Bergens live today, the two friends realize that since the trolls left, these monsters have become completely unhappy. Just then, the chef arrives at the palace and reveals to Prince Gristle, the current king of the Bergens, that she has found the trolls' hideout. So she proposes that they work together to bring back the Trollstis and she manages to get her job back as a cook. However, this is only the first stage of her plan, as her true purpose is to become the new queen of the city. What the villain doesn't realize is that Poppy and Branch have managed to break into the palace and are on the prowl, waiting for the right moment to act. However, before the princess can rescue her friends, Creek is devoured and Poppy rushes off to find her other friends before it's too late. Under orders from the chef, Bridget takes the cage to her room and, when she gets there, finds out that she won't be able to take part in the Trollstis. Frustrated, the young woman begins to cry, as she has been working in the castle since she was a child and has never had her efforts recognized by the royal family, especially by Gristle. During all these years, Bridget was secretly in love with him, but the king never noticed. That afternoon, while the young woman is taking a nap, Poppy and Branch take the opportunity to free their friends, but Bridget wakes up and tries to capture them. Poppy then claims to know the girl's secret and promises to help her win the king's heart. In return, she asks for the young woman's help in rescuing Creek and Bridget accepts. After dressing up, the young woman walks through the city looking for Gristle and the king is enchanted by her beauty. He immediately invites her to dinner and tells her that there will soon be a new Trollstis. Instead of devouring Creek, the king decided to keep him to eat with his people and invites Bridget to be his date. Suddenly, the chef appears and, on seeing her, the young woman panics, so she runs back to the palace. On the way, she loses her skates and Gristle finds them. When they get to Bridget's room, the trolls celebrate because they now know that Creek is alive. At this point, the little ones leave to save their friend, and Poppy is heartbroken to see Bridget crying, as she doesn't believe she will be able to win the king over on her own. Now that he's in love, Gristle decides to exercise to make himself more attractive to his beloved. While the king runs on the treadmill, Poppy and her friends take action to rescue Creek, but end up being chased by the pet alligator. Luckily, the team manages to escape through the window, but the amulet in which Creek is trapped ends up falling off the trolley and into Barnabas' stomach. After choking on the object, the animal manages to spit it back out, and Poppy enlists Branch's help to get the amulet. However, when they return to the castle, the group realizes that Creek isn't there, and, to make matters worse, they all end up being captured by Chef again. The woman reveals that she made a deal with Creek and he agreed to help her find the troll village in exchange for his survival. That night, the traitor lures the trolls out of hiding and all his people are captured. When she meets her family again, Poppy is ashamed, as she feels guilty for what happened. At that moment, all the princess's joy disappears and her body turns gray, just like Branch's. Then the same happens to all the other trolls, because now all their hope has been destroyed. In an attempt to revive his friend, Branch begins to sing and, on hearing his friend's beautiful voice for the first time, Poppy decides to join him. Together, the two recover their beautiful colors and begin to glow with joy, infecting all the trolls around them. Finally, after so many years, Branch feels happy and helps his friends think up an escape plan. Suddenly, the lid of the pot in which the little ones are trapped opens and Bridget says she will help them escape. Even though she knows she will suffer serious consequences for her decision, the young woman decides to free them and orders Poppy to flee with her family. When she discovers that the little ones have disappeared, the chef is furious and orders the guards to arrest Bridget. However, they end up being interrupted by the arrival of Poppy and her friends, who have returned with the mission of getting Gristle to recognize Bridget. Upon discovering the true identity of his beloved, the king is overjoyed and Poppy says that all Bergens can feel the same way. When they discover that they don't need to devour the trolls to be happy, the monsters stop seeing them as food and decide to learn from them. With the help of the little ones, all the guests at the banquet cheer up and discover that true happiness is within them. All they have to do is access it. While the Bergens dance and have fun, Chef tries to capture the trolls, but the little ones manage to stop her and push her and Creek out of town. On that day, King Pepe passes the crown to his daughter and Poppy becomes the new queen of her people. What the young girl doesn't know is that a few kilometers away, at the bottom of the ocean, there is the kingdom of the Techno Trolls, ruled by King Trollix. One day, they receive a visit from Barb, the queen of the rock trolls, and she reveals that she is there to steal the electronic music string. After destroying the corals with her cords, Barb convinces Trollix to hand over his treasure and takes all the trolls in the village prisoner. Sometime later, Poppy receives a visit from a messenger, who announces the arrival of Barb's world tour. Through that letter, Barb invites the queen and her people to attend the musical concert that will take place soon and asks Poppy to bring her string. Just then, Pepe appears and destroys the invitation, because he doesn't want his daughter to go to the rock troll village. For all these years, the former king has hidden the fact that there are other troll nations scattered around the world. When asked what the string described in the message is, Pepe explains that each one belongs to a troll kingdom and has the power to control music. At first, all the trolls lived together in harmony until the day when different musical styles began to annoy certain groups. To solve this problem, the tribes decided to separate according to their musical tastes and never had any contact again, until today. Poppy's family have been the guardians of the pop music string for generations, and Pepe says they can't let it be taken away, because if that happens all the music in their kingdom will cease to exist. Despite her father's advice, Poppy is determined to find Barb, because she believes that if she gives her the string, all the trolls will be able to live together again. So, in the middle of the night, the young woman decides to sneak out to meet the Queen of Rock, but Branch finds her and decides to accompany her. What the couple didn't realize was that they were being watched by Cooper, who also decides to leave the village to go to Barb's party, as he hopes to find trolls who look like him. In the morning, after several hours of flying, Poppy discovers that Biggie has been hiding inside the balloon and has accidentally been taken along on the adventure. At that moment, the trio see a village that has been completely destroyed and decide to go down to investigate what happened there. There, they find a talking flute and discover that Sinfonia Village, ruled by classical music, has been destroyed by Queen Barb, who has stolen the magic string and taken all the inhabitants prisoner. When she discovers the truth about Barb, Poppy realizes that she can't join her. Instead, she wants to stop her from destroying the other villages. After checking the territory on the map, Poppy realizes that Country Village is nearby and decides to go there to warn the locals about the attack. When they get there and hear the sad song that Delta D is singing, Poppy and her friends try to cheer them up with a song, but this attitude is not well interpreted and they end up being arrested. However, it isn't long before the trio are saved by Hickory, who frees them from their cell and escapes with the prisoners into the cactus forest. During the chase, Branch ends up being captured, but Biggie manages to hold him off with the help of Dinkles and the group ends up falling into a lake. Luckily, they all know how to swim and manage to reach the riverbank unharmed. After recovering from the accident, Poppy reveals her plans to Hickory and Branch begins to feel jealous of the friendship that is forming between the two. When he finds out that he has to cross the river to reach the next village, the cowboy quickly builds a boat and leaves the Pop Trolls impressed with his agility. During the trip, Branch takes the opportunity to observe Hickory closely and claims that there is something suspicious about him. However, Poppy doesn't listen to what his friend has to say. Suddenly, a troll comes out of the river playing the clarinet and bewitches the travelers with his jazz. After tying them up, Chaz reveals that he has been sent by Barb to capture them, but his plans are interrupted by the arrival of Hickory. The cowboy used jelly beans to protect his ears, so he wasn't affected by the music and managed to get rid of Chaz. After the attack, Poppy discovers that she is being chased by bounty hunters and Biggie decides to leave, as he doesn't want to risk being captured again. Hours later, the group comes under attack again, as something resembling an alien ship approaches the vessel and captures the trio in a bubble. Upon entering the ship, the three friends discover that it is Vibe City, ruled by the parents of Prince D. During his journey to reach the Rock Village, Cooper ended up being captured by this ship and discovered that he is Prince D's twin brother. When he was a baby, his egg was stolen from the nest and her parents were never able to find it. Luckily, Cooper was taken in by the Pop Trolls, but when he left to go to Barb's party, his parents managed to find him. This way, he discovered that he's actually a funk troll, but that doesn't stop him from continuing to like pop music. During a conversation with the king and queen, Poppy realizes that the story her father told her was incomplete. The truth is that, back in the day, the problem started when Pop Trolls tried to steal all the strings and keep them all to themselves. To prevent the other kingdoms from being destroyed, the 5 tribes united to take them back. That way, each group could go its own way with a single musical style. Suddenly, the security alarm goes off and the Funk Trolls prepare for battle while Poppy and her team are sent to safety. As they leave the ship, they see Barb's army approaching and Poppy decides to help them, but Branch tries to convince her to go home, as her people need their queen. However, Poppy believes she must save the other kingdoms, so Branch leaves alone. The truth is that, despite their differences, Branch loves Poppy more than anyone else in the world and cares about her, but he's tired of being ignored. While walking alone on the banks of the river, the little one ends up being captured by K-pop trolls. Minutes later, Poppy meets Hickory again and shows him her magic string. At that moment, she discovers that her cowboy friend is actually a yodeling troll and intended to hand her over to Barb. However, Hickory ends up taking a liking to the young woman and asks her to run away, but Barb shows up before the princess has a chance to escape. After capturing Pop, Barb reveals that she has destroyed her village and, when he gets home, Biggie finds only a few of his friends who managed to hide during the attack. Determined to rescue their people, the group of survivors decide to disguise themselves as rock trolls in order to infiltrate Barb's kingdom. After gathering all the strings, the woman manages to complete her magic guitar and intends to use it to turn all her prisoners into rock trolls. However, just as Barb was about to strike the first chord, Branch appears to stop her, as he has managed to convince the K-pop trolls to join him. Despite the attack, the queen continues her plan and Branch becomes her first victim. After being hit by the sound of the guitar, the young man turns into a metal troll. Then all the kings and queens of the other kingdoms also undergo the transformation, including Poppy. However, it doesn't take long for Barb to realize that it was all an act, as the princess used a pair of jelly beans to protect her ears from the music. After picking up the magic guitar, Poppy destroys it and the 6 strings disappear, taking all the colors with them. When everyone thought that music was lost forever, Cooper and his brother started singing and proved to everyone that true music comes from the heart. At that moment, for the first time in thousands of years, all the trolls unite in a single song and realize that they are stronger together. Overwhelmed by all this joy and diversity, Barb realizes that she was making a big mistake, because differences are exactly what make the world more interesting. A few years ago, in the village of Pop, there was a band made up of a group of brothers who were preparing for their first tour. During the show, the Brozone had an accident on stage and, at the end of the performance, John blamed his brothers for what had happened. From that day on, the older brother decided to go solo and all the band members split up, including Branch, who was the younger brother. With the end of the musical group, Branch's favorite brother Floyd also left to fulfill his big dream of becoming a music star and left the boy with his grandmother. After that, the two never saw each other again. On the day of the royal wedding, when Bridget and King Gristle will seal their union, all the trolls are invited to the celebration and Poppy is chosen to be the bride's godmother. However, during the ceremony, an outsider appears and claims to be Branch's brother. Upon hearing this, everyone is surprised, especially Poppy. After their last adventure together, the two friends developed a romantic interest in each other and started dating. However, even though she had a relationship with Branch, Poppy never knew that he had a brother, let alone that her boyfriend was one of the members of Brozone. After performing, John reveals that Floyd is in danger and asks for help to save him. A few weeks ago, the former singer received a letter from his brother asking for help and decided to go after him himself. The problem was that Floyd was trapped in a jar made of diamonds and John couldn't free him, so he decided to go after his other brothers for help. Encouraged by Poppy, Branch decides to go out to rescue his brother and John says that Rhonda will help them find the rest of the team. After the wedding ceremony, Branch and Poppy accompany John on his next journey in search of the other members of Brozone. Meanwhile, Floyd continues to have his talent stolen by Velvet and Veneer, who are considered the superstars of the moment. Despite having no musical talent whatsoever, the two brothers managed to rise to fame thanks to Floyd and now they intend to capture new trolls, as the little one's talent is almost exhausted. At this point, Floyd discovers that Velvet has written a fake letter to his brothers, because he intends to bring the Brozone back together with the aim of stealing their talent. After a few hours on the road, Poppy and the two brothers arrive on Vacay Island and set off in search of Spruce. To their surprise, the trio discover that the place is full of tourists and Poppy spots the troll surfing in the ocean. Spruce is now a married man and runs the island with his family. However, when he finds out that Floyd is in danger, the little guy doesn't think twice before going to rescue him. The only member of the band still to be found is Clay and, after sniffing an old suit worn by the singer, Rhonda manages to sniff him out. At dusk, the group manages to reach the place and is greeted by Viva. The young woman is very excited to see them and reveals that dozens of trolls live in the village. Just then, Clay appears and also agrees to join his brothers in rescuing Floyd. Seeing the bracelet on Poppy's arm, Viva remembers that she had an identical accessory when she was young and asks if the girl is King Peep's daughter. When she discovers Poppy's true identity, Viva hugs her and reveals that she is her older sister. On discovering that she is not an only child, Poppy is overjoyed, as she had always dreamed of having a sister. The night the trolls fled Bergen City, some other trolls couldn't get out of the tree and were captured. They were about to be devoured when Viva appeared to save them, but when she returned to the tunnels, the passage had already closed. After that, the group wandered aimlessly until they found that abandoned golf course and turned it into a troll sanctuary. The problem is that Viva has become so paranoid that she's stopped the trolls from leaving the sanctuary and is trying to do the same to her new visitors. Even though she knows there are no more predators, the young girl is still frightened and can hardly believe it when Poppy reveals that her best friend is a Bergen. However, Clay says he needs to save his brother and Poppy tries to convince Viva to accompany them, but the young woman is haunted by fear and refuses to leave. On the way to Mount Regis, the three brothers start arguing and Branch realizes that they are still the same as before. Tired of being treated like a child because he is the youngest brother, the young man decides to continue the mission alone, but his girlfriend goes after him and says she will help him free Floyd. That night, Bridget and Gristle are on a honeymoon trip, but when they smell food, they decide to make a stop. Not knowing what that place is, the couple end up invading the troll sanctuary and are captured. After breaking into Mount Regis' ventilation system, Poppy and Branch explore every room until they find Floyd. But when he sees his younger brother, Floyd asks him to leave because Velvet and Veneer are on the prowl to capture them. Just then, the pair enter the room and trap Rhonda in the closet. Hearing the noise, the couple hide and Branch panics when he sees all his brothers trapped inside Velvet and Veneer's costume. When Gristle and Bridget were about to be eliminated by the trolls, Viva realized that the Bergen was Poppy's best friend and decided to free the couple. During the press conference, while the two imposters are taking photos with their fans, Poppy and Branch show up and take the opportunity to unmask them in public. Ashamed, the two siblings try to run away, but Rhonda goes after them and, in the middle of the chase, the couple ends up being saved by Bridget. After meeting the Bergen, Viva realized that her sister was telling the truth and gathered all her courage to go and meet her. With the young woman's help, Poppy and Branch managed to remove the diamonds from Velvet and Veneer's costumes, but Floyd is still in prison. Realizing that there are cameras following the two celebrities everywhere, Velvet decides to take the opportunity to put on a big show, so that she and her brother can win back the approval of their fans. At that moment, The woman extracts every scrap of talent that still exists in Floyd's body, and John believes that his brother won't be able to survive. In an attempt to stop him perishing, Branch decides to reunite his old band for one more song, and together they steal the audience's attention. When he hears his brothers singing, Floyd decides to join them, in the perfect harmony created by the members of the Brozone is capable of destroying the diamond flask in which they have been imprisoned. Despite being very weak, Floyd is still alive, and, seeing all the harm he has caused the little boy, Veneer has a guilty conscience, so he decides to give himself up. In front of the cameras, the young man tells them that he and his sister are imposters and attacked a small troll to steal his talent. Thanks to this public confession, the two siblings end up being arrested, while Poppy and Branch seal that night with a kiss. After completing the mission, Viva returns with her sister to Pop Village and finally has the chance to meet her father again. To celebrate their great reunion, the Brozone decide to start a new tour and are applauded by a large crowd of trolls. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.